Welcome once more to Sleep Science Top 1. Tonight, let's drift gently inward, away from the stars and oceans, toward the quiet evolution happening within you from your very first breath. Aging is not a slow retreat, but a gentle unfolding of a masterpiece, a slow, graceful blooming that invites deeper peace when you simply let it be. This evening, we will delve into the gradual, serene, and profoundly intriguing journey of aging, viewing it not as a source of fear, but as an opportunity for understanding, a moment to embrace, something almost tranquil when you allow yourself to truly observe it. The process of aging unfolds over time, rather than occurring all at once. It isn't just a simple switch being flipped, or a clear line being crossed. It arrives like the quiet lengthening of evening shadows, patient, continuous, written in the lives of trillions of cells. These tiny stories are so serene, so understated, they naturally ease your mind toward rest. If these calm explorations bring you comfort and help quiet your thoughts, a gentle like, subscribe, or comment would guide more peaceful souls to this safe harbor at bedtime. For the moment, just find your comfort, allow your breath to ease, and let the narrative of aging wash over you, much like a gentle tide rolling in. Let's get started. Your body is performing a silent, molecular rebirth at this very moment as you absorb this information. At every instant, your cells are perishing and being reborn. The process is quite straightforward. It remains serene, unnoticed, and unwavering. Your skin renews itself approximately every 27 days. Your blood cells undergo a renewal process every few months. Your gut lining can refresh itself in just 3 to 5 days. Certain cells, such as those found in your liver, may require a year or even longer to completely regenerate. Some, much like specific neurons in your brain, can remain with you throughout your entire life. The reality is that the body you possess today is entirely different from the one you had 5 years ago, in every literal aspect. You are, in a profound sense, a vessel that has undergone a complete transformation of its structure. The subtle, continuous process of renewal is among the initial aspects that render aging both captivating and peculiar. However, the reality is that while your body is always in the process of renewal, there are subtle changes that occur with every cycle of replacement. The guidelines can become somewhat faded, and the reproductions aren't always flawless. As time passes, that subtle erosion contributes to what we refer to as aging. It is not a setback. It is merely the outcome of a system that has been operating for decades, continuing its course. The body performs remarkably well. Only when viewed through the lens of an entire human life does the gradual shift become apparent. The small caps at the ends of your chromosomes diminish slightly with each cell division. Within almost every cell in your body, your genetic information resides on structures known as chromosomes. At the very end of each chromosome, here lies the telomere, a microscopic hourglass, ticking with the rhythm of life. Imagine it as the cellular hourglass, marking the cadence of life. It prevents any fraying from occurring. With each cell division and replication, those telomeres gradually shorten a bit more. They struggle to regenerate independently, not without difficulty. Throughout the years, as your cells have multiplied countless times, those protective caps have gradually diminished. When they get too short, the cell loses its ability to divide safely. It either halts or it ceases to exist. This is one of the most subtle yet essential reasons behind the aging process. Not due to a sudden break, but rather because something gradually, softly, diminishes. In the 1970s, scientists made the groundbreaking discovery of telomeres, and the exploration into their significance has only intensified over the years. Elizabeth Blackburn, a Nobel Prize winner for her groundbreaking research, played a crucial role in uncovering the significance of these tiny structures in the narrative of aging. They lack drama. They maintain a quiet presence. Yet, they move steadily and quietly, marking each decade of your life. Your brain is always in the process of generating new cells. For many years, researchers thought that after a certain age, the brain you possessed was the brain you were destined to have forever. Without new neurons, there are no opportunities for a fresh start or reconstruction. However, that notion has been subtly reversed. Studies indicate that specific areas of the brain, especially the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory and learning, can keep generating new nerve cells even in adulthood. This phenomenon is referred to as neurogenesis. As we grow older, it tends to decelerate. It lacks the intensity it used to have. However, it doesn't come to a complete halt. It appears that the brain is more accommodating than we previously believed. It continues to make an effort. It continues to expand, even when the rest of us have concluded that we are finished with transformation. This finding significantly altered the way researchers perceive the brain and the process of aging. If the brain can continue to generate new cells, then maybe some of the transformations that accompany aging aren't as irreversible as we previously thought. There is a subtle yet profound sense of hope, the type that remains unspoken yet persists effortlessly, one cell at a time. With each passing year, the skin is the body's largest organ. It's often the initial area where signs of aging become apparent. It's simple to neglect the skin. We clean it. We've got it all covered. It's something we seldom consider as an organ in any way. However, it truly is. This is the biggest one you possess, spanning almost 2 square meters of your body. It continuously functions to block the outside world while maintaining the essence of the inside world. Since it is constantly visible and always present, it becomes the initial area where the marks of time start to show. Exposure to sunlight, the slow decline of a protein known as collagen, the reduction of the outer layers. Everything unfolds gradually and subtly. A sentence here, a gentle touch in that area. The skin reveals a narrative. However, it conveys the message softly. Focus on one season at a time. Despite everything it reveals, the skin demonstrates an impressive level of resilience. It restores, it evolves, it revitalizes. Even with the passage of time, it continues to perform its function effectively. The transformations we observe on the surface are genuine. However, they do not indicate any form of weakness. They indicate a body that has experienced life, that has experienced the warmth of the sun, the touch of rain, the force of the wind, and the passage of time, and has continued to push through everything. As you age, you're the internal cathedral. How our skeleton softens its sturdy echoes. However, the process is more subdued than you may expect. The bones have a sturdy feel. They seem everlasting. Yet, within, they undergo a continuous cycle of disassembly and reconstruction. A gentle waltz unfolds between 2 distinct cell types. A specific type, known as osteoclasts, removes old bone tissue. The other type, known as osteoblasts, is responsible for constructing new bone in its location. In youth, these 2 forces tend to find a harmonious equilibrium. However, as you grow older, the equilibrium shifts just a bit. The disintegration starts to surpass the construction. As time goes by, this results in bones gradually losing some density, somewhat more delicate. It's not an experience that unfolds in just one day. This is a phenomenon that unfolds over many years, so subtly that the majority remain unaware until something else captures their focus. However, bones are not powerless in the face of this change. Engaging in movement, exercising regularly, and consuming the right nutrients can significantly decelerate the process. The body pays attention. It reacts. Even as time goes on, it will enhance bone in reaction to the pressures applied to it. That is one of the softer realities regarding the skeleton. It isn't a rigid framework. It is a vibrant entity, and it captures attention. The sanctuary of rest evolves, weaving a deeper, more reflective silence well ahead of your awareness. Sleep goes beyond mere rest. Your body engages in one of its most vital and dynamic processes, and it transforms, gradually, as you grow older. The profound, rejuvenating phases of sleep, where the body performs its crucial repair functions, often diminish in duration and intensity as time goes on. Waking up becomes a simpler task. Falling asleep takes more time. The cadence of it changes. These are indications that everything is perfectly fine. They are just a natural aspect of the body's ongoing reorganization throughout life. The necessity for sleep remains constant. In fact, it remains largely unchanged. However, the quality and texture start to shift subtly and quietly. This has a certain poetic quality to it. Rest is the sanctuary where we rejuvenate our being. As time goes by, the process of restoration seems to slip further away, becoming increasingly elusive. It stands as one of the softer contradictions of aging. The thing you desire most often turns out to be the one that demands a bit more time to uncover. The journey of aging starts long before you take your first breath. This is certainly one of the more peculiar aspects of aging, and among the most serene. Many individuals perceive aging as a process that begins once childhood or youth has passed. However, the reality is that the biological clock starts its countdown well ahead of the initial breath. Within the womb, the developing body is already experiencing transformations that researchers identify as initial indicators of the aging process. Telomeres, those vital protective caps we discussed earlier, are already starting their gradual decline. Some cellular activities that will eventually serve as indicators of aging are already subtly in progress. When a baby first opens its eyes, the journey of aging has already started, in the gentlest manner imaginable. It is a thought that brings a sense of humility, not a gloomy one, but a serene one. Every human life signifies an ongoing journey, a narrative that's unfolding. Right from the start, aging is not merely a future event that befalls us. It's a practice we've consistently engaged in. As time goes by, the systems within your body responsible for repairing damaged DNA start to decelerate. Daily, your cells experience minor damage to their genetic material. It occurs all the time. The sun, chemicals, and even the body's regular processes can lead to minor mistakes in the instructions that guide your cells on how to operate. In youth, the body possesses an incredible knack for identifying and correcting these mistakes. Specialized proteins meticulously examine the DNA, identify the damage, and rectify it, frequently before it can inflict any harm whatsoever. However, as time goes on, this repair system loses its effectiveness. The mistakes build up, gradually, silently. The majority of them take no action whatsoever. However, certain factors, over the years, can play a role in the transformations we link to aging. It is not a significant drop. It resembles a slow fading of focus. The system remains in place, continuing to function effectively. It just doesn't grab attention as swiftly as it used to. In that still moment, nestled between harm and healing, lies one of the many realms where the essence of aging resides. From the ages of 30 to 80, individuals typically experience a decline in muscle mass, ranging from 30 to 50%. This gradual vanishing is referred to as a phenomenon. Researchers refer to it as sarcopenia, a term derived from Greek meaning the loss of flesh. It unfolds gradually. It slowly seeps in over the years, so subtly that many individuals remain unaware until something else draws their attention. A fleeting sense of fatigue, a challenge that seems more daunting than before, captures their focus. The muscles don't just disappear, they reduce in size. The fibers that once contributed to their strength diminish in number and thickness, while the body's capacity to regenerate them starts to fade. However, sarcopenia is not a foregone conclusion, as many tend to believe. Engaging in physical activity, especially resistance training, can significantly reduce it. The muscles continue to react to challenges. They continue to heed the body's signals, even as the years go by. The pain is genuine. yet it doesn't define your future. It serves as a suggestion, one that the body can, to a significant extent, contest. The countless microorganisms residing in your gut evolve and transform as you age. Your gut hosts a remarkable ecosystem, teeming with a diverse array of bacteria, fungi, and other minuscule organisms that surpass the number of your own cells. This community is always evolving. It evolves based on your diet, the changing seasons, health conditions, medications, and the passage of time. As you age, the variety within this community often diminishes. Some advantageous species are becoming increasingly rare. Some factors that can lead to inflammation or digestive issues may become more common. The change is slow, and researchers are just starting to grasp its implications. It is increasingly evident that the gut microbiome influences much more than just digestion. It affects the immune system, the brain, mood, and even the speed at which certain aspects of the body age. A vibrant and varied gut community appears to be a subtle cornerstone of healthy aging. The community, much like all aspects within us, is in a constant state of transformation, continually reacting to the life we experience. Blood pressure gradually increases as we age, often without any noticeable symptoms, leaving many unaware of its rise. The arteries, those adaptable channels that transport blood from the heart to the entire body, slowly become a bit less flexible as we age. The walls grow denser. The flexibility diminishes gradually, akin to leather exposed to the sun for an extended period. As the arteries become less flexible, the heart must exert more effort to circulate blood through them. The outcome is a slow increase in pressure, so faint that it seldom makes its presence known. Numerous individuals can go for years with high blood pressure without even realizing it. That's the reason physicians label it as the quiet ailment. It remains subtle. It softly murmurs. However, as time passes, that subtle suggestion can lead to significant effects on the heart, brain, and kidneys. The positive aspect is that it reacts favorably to lifestyle changes. Engaging in movement, maintaining a balanced diet, ensuring adequate rest, and managing stress can all contribute to a more gentle pressure. The body is attentive, even when the transformation is subtle and barely perceptible. As you grow older, the count of taste buds in your mouth diminishes, leading to a decline in flavor intensity. In your youth, your mouth was adorned with countless taste buds, each serving as a tiny sensory organ adept at recognizing sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and a variety of other flavors. As time goes on, that figure starts to decrease. As individuals enter their 70 seconds or 80 seconds, they often experience a notable decline in the number of taste buds they previously possessed. The food remains the same, yet the manner in which it touches the tongue turns more subdued, gentler, and less striking. It's a subtle loss that accompanies the journey of aging, one that many individuals adjust to without truly realizing it. The tastes remain vibrant, they just need a bit more focus to discover. Many individuals start to add more seasoning to their meals, without fully understanding the reason behind it. The tongue is subtly indicating that it requires a bit more assistance to perceive the world as it once did. With each decade, the heart may pump a bit less blood, yet it continues to beat faithfully, enduring for as long as possible. The heart is a muscle, and similar to all muscles, it evolves as we grow older. Their walls might become a bit thicker. The efficiency of its blood-pumping ability might diminish slightly over the years. The heart remains a faithful voyager, adjusting its pace to the rhythm of time. It gradually loses some of its vigor, much like a trusted tool that continues to perform its function, albeit with a bit more effort than when it was first crafted. However, the heart is among the most versatile organs in the body. It reacts to physical activity. It reacts to relaxation. It reacts to the patterns of everyday existence in ways that researchers are still striving to completely grasp. A heart that receives proper care is consistently engaged. and is allowed time to heal, can maintain impressive strength well into old age. It does not possess immortality, yet it remains steadfast, unwavering, and continues its journey long after many other parts of the body have started to slow. Hearing loss is the most prevalent sensory alteration associated with aging, and it often develops so gradually that many individuals remain unaware of it for years. Within the inner ear, countless tiny hair cells exist, fragile structures that transform sound vibrations into electrical signals that the brain can interpret. These cells do not regenerate. They are some of the rare elements in the body that, once they disappear, are irretrievably lost. As time goes on, particularly in the higher frequencies, they start to diminish. It becomes increasingly challenging to keep track of conversations in bustling environments. The morning birds appear to be more subdued than before. The world remains quiet. It just turns a bit more muted, a touch less crisp. The world becomes a soft whisper, a gentle muting of the morning birds that it frequently escapes notice until a friend or loved one brings it to your attention. It does not indicate a lack of attention or concern. It is undoubtedly one of the most subtle transformations the body undergoes throughout life. However, when detected early and given the necessary focus, there are methods to bolster and safeguard what is left. The ears can still receive assistance. They just want someone to hear them out. As you enter your 40 seconds, you may notice that the fine details start to fade, and this transformation is known by a specific term. It is referred to as presbyopia, a term derived from Greek that translates to old eye. It is not an illness. The lens of the eye undergoes a natural transformation in its function. In youth, the lens remains adaptable, swiftly altering its shape to bring both nearby and distant objects into clear view. However, as time passes, the lens slowly becomes more rigid. It becomes more rigid in its ability to adapt. Thus, the garments, the phrases on a page, the watch's face, the text on a phone start to blur and fade in clarity. Aging is a truly universal experience that everyone encounters. It's something that nearly everyone comes across, typically without any fuss, typically with a subtle, gradual shift. Presbyopia is not an indication that the eyes are failing. It signifies a transformation that unfolds in a manner as steady and soothing as the shift from one season to another. Eyewear, reading lenses, and various straightforward aids can connect the divide. The eyes are functioning perfectly. They have evolved into a new perspective on the world. The gradual loss of stem cells at the base of each follicle leads to the graying of your hair. Hair doesn't turn gray like a shirt that fades in the wash due to a loss of pigment. The cells that create the dark pigment, known as melanocytes, slowly diminish, leading to a gray appearance. At the base of every hair follicle, these cells thrive, nourished and renewed by a tiny reservoir of stem cells. As time passes, the number of those stem cells diminishes. Once they are absent, the follicle loses its ability to generate color. The hair that emerges from it appears white, gray, or silver, depending on the combination. The timing of this can differ greatly from one individual to another. Certain individuals start to see gray hairs in their 20 seconds. Some maintain their vibrant hues well into their 60 seconds, or even later. Genetics is significant, yet stress, nutrition, and various other elements also contribute, with science still unraveling their complexities. It is evident that having gray hair does not indicate any issues. This indicates a process that has been ongoing for an extended period, a one that, in time, softly fades away in hue. Your metabolism, the speed at which your body uses energy, starts to gradually decline in your late 20 seconds and continues to decrease as the years go by. It doesn't fall abruptly, it glides. The body just becomes slightly more efficient, a bit more careful with the fuel it consumes. It takes less energy to keep the same weight steady. The boundless energy of youth transforms into a resource that requires careful management and mindful consideration. This is not a mistake. This is a transformation. The body is mastering the art of efficiency, much like an experienced traveler who refines their packing skills with every journey. However, the deceleration also indicates that the body grows increasingly responsive to variations in diet and activity. Your diet and physical activity start to take on new significance compared to how they were viewed previously. The metabolism is functioning just fine. It is merely seeking a unique form of focus. For numerous individuals, discovering how to focus on it is one of the subtle responsibilities that come with aging. As time goes by, the immune system, which serves as your body's shield against sickness, gradually starts to dull. This process has been named by scientists. It's referred to as immunosenescence. It is not an abrupt downfall. The immune system gradually loses its ability to identify and react to dangers, fading away in a slow and subtle manner. The system continues to function effectively. It continues to battle. However, it operates with slightly reduced speed and precision compared to its younger days. Infections that used to resolve swiftly might now persist for a bit more time. Vaccines might not elicit as robust a reaction. The body continues to protect itself, yet it relies on somewhat outdated methods. This is one reason certain illnesses become more prevalent as people age, making the body somewhat more susceptible to issues it previously handled with ease. However, immunosenescence does not have to be a predetermined outcome. Maintaining an active lifestyle, prioritizing good nutrition, ensuring adequate sleep, and fostering social connections all appear to bolster the immune system as it matures. The defenses may be more subdued, but they are far from being mute, and they can be nurtured softly for an extended period ahead. The creases on your skin are etched there by the gradual deterioration of a protein known as collagen. Collagen ranks among the most plentiful proteins found in the human body. It exists within the skin, throughout tendons, within bones, and in the walls of blood vessels. It offers structure within the skin. It maintains a solid and sleek surface, reminiscent of the structure within a finely crafted piece of furniture. However, collagen deteriorates as time goes on. Exposure to the sun accelerates the process. The natural aging of the cells responsible for its production leads to a decrease in their output. As collagen diminishes, the skin begins to lose its structural support. It becomes gentler. It collapses. Wrinkles start to show. However, wrinkles are not flaws. They are the etched archives of a life well lived. These are documents. Every piece stands as a reflection of a life fully experienced. To skin that has grinned and narrowed its eyes and chuckled and felt warmth and chill and been touched by countless sunny days. They serve as the body's method of expressing its story externally in a form that is universally understandable. While science provides methods to delay their onset, there is an undeniable authenticity to their presence. They serve as evidence of your existence, a testament to your journey, a reminder that time has flowed and you have navigated through it. The alterations in memory that occur with age differ from simple forgetting. This is a crucial, yet often misinterpreted aspect of aging. Memory evolves over time. Indeed, that is accurate. As the years go by, the capacity to swiftly remember particular details, to juggle multiple pieces of information simultaneously, and to acquire entirely new skills may start to feel a bit more sluggish and less instinctive. However, the kind of memory loss that people often dread is not a typical aspect of getting older. A change in the way memory functions is what we consider normal. The memories that run deep, connected to feelings, significance, and self, often stay surprisingly vivid. What diminishes is frequently the pace, not the intensity. Scientists have a term for this phenomenon. It's referred to as the difference between how fast information is processed and the memory itself. The details are frequently still present. It just requires a bit more time to discover. Similar to a vast library, all the books remain neatly arranged on the shelves. All you require is a bit more time to find the perfect one. For many, with a touch of patience and a sense of grace, the library stays accessible for an extended period. As a person ages, the brain experiences a slight reduction in size. However, what it may lack in size, it frequently compensates for in various other aspects. Throughout a lifetime, the brain gradually diminishes in size by a small percentage. The outer layer, known as the cortex, becomes slightly thinner. Certain areas experience greater shrinkage than others. The hippocampus, which plays a crucial role in memory, and the prefrontal cortex, essential for planning and decision-making, are two of the areas that experience significant impact. However, this reduction is subtle. It doesn't imply that the brain is losing its ability. As time goes on, the brain often demonstrates increased efficiency. It masters the art of maximizing efficiency with limited resources. It improves in discovering shortcuts, leveraging past experiences, and understanding the world, all without having to analyze every detail anew. The brain stands out as one of the most resilient organs in the body, showcasing remarkable strength and adaptability. It adjusts, it restructures, it discovers fresh routes when the old ones start to lose their effectiveness. An engaged mind, one that faces challenges and is presented with stimulating ideas and social connections, can stay impressively sharp, well into the later years of life. The reduction is undeniable. However, that's just part of the narrative. Some genes in your body seem to influence your lifespan, and researchers have been examining them for many years without much fanfare. A prominent example is known as FOXO3. Within your code lies a hidden melody of endurance, known as FOXO3, in the blood of individuals who enjoy remarkably long lives. Individuals who have lived to be 100 years or more, known as centenarians, often possess specific variations of this gene more frequently than the average person. It doesn't ensure a lengthy existence. Genetics is just a single strand in a vast and intricate design. However, it implies that within the body, there exist subtle and timeless instructions that lead certain individuals to embrace endurance. Additional longevity genes have also been discovered, with each contributing a small piece to the bigger picture of why certain individuals appear to age at a slower pace than others. The research is still in its early stages, and the overall understanding remains incomplete. However, it offers an intriguing glimpse into the notion that aging, much like various aspects of the body, is not completely arbitrary. Patterns emerge, tendencies unfold, and hidden within the code, there could be hints guiding us toward a future where we can softly expand the narrative. Senescence is the term that describes the biological process of aging, and it's a concept that invites deeper contemplation. The origin lies in the Latin term senex, which translates to old man. However, in the realm of science, it has adopted a more expansive and subtle significance. Senescence is the slow deterioration of cellular and tissue function as time progresses. It unfolds gradually, not confined to just one instant. The process unfolds gradually, taking place at the cellular level, day in and day out, year after year, all without any fanfare. A cell reaches a state of senescence when it loses the ability to divide. It lingers, not fading away right at once. It just halts its growth. It remains, occasionally emitting signals that influence the surrounding cells, and at times playing a role in the gradual transformations we link to aging. Senescence is not the antagonist in the narrative of existence. It serves crucial functions in growth, in the healing of wounds, and in safeguarding the body from harmful cells that could potentially pose a threat. However, when it builds up excessively, when an abundance of cells have ceased functioning and are just lingering, it can lead to the gradual decline we refer to as aging. This process is among the most subtle and central in biology, quietly occurring within you, softly, for your entire life. Certain animals seem to defy the passage of time, and scientists are gradually uncovering their mysteries. Aging in the natural world isn't as universal as we often think it is. Some species appear to have discovered methods to evade it almost completely. The bowhead whale, capable of living for more than 200 years, exhibits astonishingly minimal signs of decline, even in its advanced years. The naked mole rat, a tiny, wrinkled animal that resides underground, has an impressive lifespan of 30 years or more, showing nearly no rise in the likelihood of illness or mortality. Some jellyfish species, especially Turritopsis dohrnii, have the remarkable ability to revert their cells to a previous state, effectively resetting their biological clock. These beings are not enchanted. They have developed various approaches to address the issue of cellular wear and tear. Certain individuals possess remarkable DNA repair capabilities. Some individuals possess telomeres that are remarkably extended. Some appear to hardly undergo aging at all. Researchers examine these creatures not in search of a magical elixir for eternal youth, but to delve into the fundamental biology of aging. What they are discovering, with patience and attention, is that aging is not a fixed rule of the natural world. It's a journey. Processes can be grasped, and maybe, in the future, they can be subtly directed. The longest-lived verified human in recorded history reached the remarkable age of 122. Jeanne Calment was her name, and she came into the world in France in 1875. In many respects, her life was quite ordinary. She indulged in chocolate, she sipped on her wine, she smoked from time to time, and she continued to thrive, well beyond the years when most have already departed. She passed away in 1997, having reached the remarkable age of 122 years and 164 days. No one has been confirmed to have lived for a longer duration. Her life prompts inquiries that science has been subtly contemplating ever since. Could it be something inherent in her DNA, within her surroundings, in a mix of elements that remain largely unrecognized? The truth is, nobody can say for sure. Jeanne Calment stands as a subtle reminder that, given the right circumstances, the human body might endure far beyond what most of us will ever know. She doesn't serve as evidence for anything, precisely, yet she remains a door, ajar, leading into a space that science has yet to thoroughly investigate. Caloric restriction, which involves consuming less food over an extended duration, has demonstrated the ability to slow down specific indicators of aging in laboratory animals. The research began decades ago, when scientists noticed that animals fed significantly less food than usual, but still enough to remain healthy, lived noticeably longer than their well-fed counterparts. Their cells showed less damage. Their tissues remained healthier for longer. Their telomeres shortened more slowly. The effect was not dramatic in any single way, but it was consistent. Across many different species, eating less seemed to slow the clock just a little. Whether this translates directly to humans is still an open and careful question. The human body is far more complex than a laboratory mouse, and the social and psychological costs of long-term caloric restriction are significant. But the research has opened a door into understanding how the body responds to scarcity, how it shifts its priorities when food becomes less abundant, and how those shifts might, in some way, be a key to the quieter rhythms of a longer life. An enzyme called telomerase has the remarkable ability to rebuild the protective caps at the ends of your chromosomes. We spoke earlier about telomeres, those tiny caps that shorten with each cell division, but there is a counterforce. An enzyme called telomerase, discovered by scientists in the 1980s, has the power to add length back to those caps, to rebuild what has worn away. In certain cells, particularly stem cells and reproductive cells, telomerase is active. It keeps the telomeres from shortening too quickly. In most other cells, it is largely switched off, which is part of why those cells eventually run out of room to divide. The discovery of telomerase opened a window into one of the most exciting areas of modern biology. If telomeres are a clock, and telomerase is a way to wind that clock back, then perhaps there are ways, carefully and responsibly, to slow or even reverse certain aspects of cellular aging. The research is still in its early stages, and the implications are vast and complex. But telomerase remains one of the most quietly extraordinary discoveries of the 20th century. A small enzyme with an enormous story. Every day, your cells are sustaining tiny injuries from something called oxidative stress. And over time, those injuries add up. Oxidative stress is caused by molecules called free radicals, which are produced naturally as a byproduct of the body's normal energy-generating processes. These molecules are unstable, and they tend to damage the cells they come into contact with, particularly the DNA and the membranes that surround each cell. The body has systems in place to neutralize free radicals. Antioxidants, both produced internally and obtained through food, help to keep them in check. But the balance is never perfect. Some damage slips through every single day, in every cell. Over decades, that accumulated damage contributes to the slow deterioration we associate with aging. It is one of the reasons why certain diseases become more common as people grow older, and the tissues of the body gradually lose their resilience. Oxidative stress is not something you can feel. It is happening at a level far below the reach of any sensation. But it is one of the quiet, ongoing forces that shape the story of how we grow old. And understanding it has become one of the central pursuits of modern research into aging. The appendix was once dismissed as a useless leftover from an earlier stage of human evolution. But science has quietly revised that opinion. For many years, the appendix, that small pouch attached to the large intestine, was considered a vestigial organ, something the body no longer needed, a relic from a time when our ancestors ate different foods and lived different lives. But more recent research has suggested that the appendix may play a role in the immune system, particularly in maintaining a healthy population of gut bacteria. It may act as a reservoir, a backup supply of beneficial microorganisms that can help repopulate the gut after illness or disruption. This matters for aging because the gut microbiome, as we discussed earlier, changes significantly over a lifetime. Having a healthy and diverse community of bacteria in the gut seems to be connected to better health and slower signs of aging. The appendix, far from being useless, may be one of the quiet supporters of that community. It is a reminder that the body is more complex than we once gave it credit for, and that what we dismissed as unimportant sometimes turns out to matter more than we expected. The way your body processes alcohol changes as you grow older, and it becomes less forgiving. When you were younger, a glass of wine or a pint of beer might have left you feeling relaxed and pleasantly warm, with little consequence the following morning. But as the body ages, its ability to break down alcohol becomes less efficient. The liver, which is responsible for most of that work, slows its processing. The enzymes that convert alcohol into less harmful substances become less active. And so, the same amount of alcohol that once felt gentle can now feel heavier, linger longer, and leave a deeper mark the next day. This is not a moral judgment. It is simply biology. The body is telling you, in its own quiet way, that it needs a little more care than it once did. The relationship between a person and alcohol changes over the decades, and paying attention to that change is one of the small and often overlooked acts of taking care of yourself as you grow older. The joints in your body, particularly the larger ones like the knees and the hips, tend to become less flexible as the years pass. This happens for several reasons. The cartilage that cushions the ends of bones gradually wears down. The ligaments and tendons that hold joints together become a little stiffer, less elastic than they once were. The fluid that lubricates the joint spaces may decrease in volume or change in composition. All of these shifts happen slowly, and most people barely notice them, until a movement that once felt effortless begins to feel like it requires a little more thought. But flexibility, like so many aspects of the body, responds to attention. Gentle stretching, regular movement, and activities that keep the joints warm and mobile can help preserve their range of motion well into later life. The joints are not condemned to stiffness. They are simply asking to be used, and the body, as it always has, will respond to what it is asked to do. The thymus gland, which plays a central role in the development of immune cells, begins to shrink in childhood and continues to do so throughout a lifetime. The thymus is largest when you are a child. It is the place where certain immune cells, called T cells, are educated and prepared to defend the body against infection. But from childhood onward, it begins to shrink, slowly and steadily, until by middle age, it has become only a fraction of its former size. As it shrinks, the body produces fewer new T cells. The immune system does not collapse because of this. It has other ways of maintaining its defenses. But the thymus's quiet retreat is one of the reasons why the immune system becomes gradually less adaptable as we age. It is a change so gradual that it goes entirely unnoticed in daily life. The thymus does its work silently, and its slow disappearance is one of the many invisible processes that shape the way the body responds to the world as it grows older. The stem cells inside your body, those remarkable cells that can become almost any other type of cell, become less active and less numerous as you age. Stem cells are found throughout the body, tucked away in tissues and organs, waiting to be called into action. When a tissue is damaged, when cells need to be replaced, stem cells divide and transform, becoming the specific type of cell that is needed. But, over time, the number of stem cells decreases. Their ability to divide slows. They become less responsive to the signals that once activated them so readily. This quieting of the stem cell population is one of the deeper reasons why the body becomes less able to repair and renew itself as it ages. It is not that the body has forgotten how to heal. It is that the workforce it once relied upon has grown smaller and quieter. Research into stem cells and how to support them as they age is one of the most active and hopeful areas of modern science. The cells are still there. They simply need more encouragement than they once did. The way your genes are expressed, the way the instructions in your DNA are read and carried out, can be influenced by your environment in ways that scientists are only beginning to understand. This is called epigenetics, and it is one of the most fascinating and quiet revolutions in biology. Epigenetic changes do not alter the DNA itself. They alter the chemical tags that sit on top of it, tags that tell the body whether a particular gene should be turned on or off. And these tags change over a lifetime. They are influenced by what you eat, how much stress you experience, how much you sleep, how much you move, and countless other factors. Some epigenetic changes appear to accelerate aging. Others seem to slow it down. Scientists have even developed what they call epigenetic clocks, tools that can measure the age of a person's cells based on the pattern of these chemical tags. And what they have found is striking. People who live under chronic stress, for example, often show epigenetic signs of being older than their actual age. People who exercise regularly, who sleep well, who maintain close relationships, sometimes show signs of being younger. The body, it turns out, is not just a product of its genes. It is a product of its life. And life, in all its complexity, leaves marks that science can now, for the first time, begin to read. In many cultures around the world, there are words and traditions that celebrate the process of growing older rather than mourning it. In Japan, there is a concept called ikigai, which refers to a sense of purpose and meaning that deepens with age. In some cultures, elders are regarded as repositories of wisdom, their years honored rather than lamented. In parts of West Africa, growing old is seen as a sign of strength, of survival, of having weathered the storms that life has brought. These are not just words. They are ways of seeing. They are invitations to approach the passage of time, not as a loss, but as an accumulation. In a world that often treats youth as the only desirable state, these traditions offer a quieter and perhaps truer perspective. Aging is not the opposite of living. It is one of its deepest expressions. To grow old is to have been here, to have seen things, to have felt things, to have carried the weight of years, and to have kept walking. It is, in its own way, one of the bravest things a body can do. Your internal clock, the rhythm that tells you when to wake and when to sleep, shifts earlier as you grow older. Inside your brain, there is a tiny cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It is your biological clock, the master timekeeper that coordinates the rhythms of your body. And as you age, this clock begins to run a little earlier than it used to. People who once stayed up late find themselves growing tired sooner. Those who once slept in find themselves waking before the sun. It is not a choice. It is a quiet rewiring happening deep inside the brain, adjusting the tempo of the day without asking permission. This shift affects more than just sleep. It can change when hunger arrives, when energy peaks, when the body feels most alert. The circadian rhythm is not just a sleep schedule, it is a master conductor, and as it shifts with age, the whole orchestra adjusts in ways both subtle and profound. When bones are broken later in life, they tend to heal more slowly than they did in youth. A child who falls and breaks a wrist may be back to playing within a few weeks. An older adult with the same injury may need months. The difference lies in the biology of bone repair. When a bone breaks, the body responds by sending a rush of stem cells and growth factors to the site. New bone tissue forms across the gap, knitting the break back together. But as we age, that response becomes quieter. Fewer stem cells arrive. The growth factors are less abundant. The healing still happens, but it takes its time, moving at the pace of an older, more patient body. This does not mean that bones cannot heal well in later life. They can, but the process asks for more patience, more support, more careful attention than it once did. The body is not broken. It is simply moving at a different speed, the way a river slows as it nears the sea. The way fat is distributed across the body changes gradually as a person ages. In youth, fat tends to be stored more evenly, perhaps a little more around the face and the limbs. But over the decades, the body begins to shift where it keeps its reserves. Fat tends to move toward the middle, toward the abdomen, away from the legs and the arms. This is not simply a matter of diet or exercise, though both play a role. It is driven by changes in hormones, particularly as levels of estrogen and testosterone shift with age. The body is reorganizing itself, quietly, according to instructions that have been written into its biology long before any of us were born. This redistribution is not purely cosmetic. Fat stored around the abdomen can have different effects on the body than fat stored elsewhere, and scientists continue to study the relationship between fat distribution, aging, and long-term health. But the shift itself is a natural and common part of the body's slow evolution over a lifetime. The lens inside your eye, the small, clear structure that focuses light onto the retina, hardens gradually over the course of decades. We touched on this earlier when we spoke of presbyopia, but the hardening of the lens is worth sitting with a little longer. The lens is not like skin or muscle. It does not replace itself. The cells that make it up are among the oldest in the body, layered on top of one another over a lifetime, like the rings of a tree. And as those layers accumulate, the lens loses its softness, its ability to bend and flex and adjust its focus. It becomes, in a sense, a record of every year it has lived through. This is why close-up vision becomes harder with age, not because the eye is failing, but because one small, quiet part of it has simply stopped being flexible. It is one of the gentler and most universal changes in the body, and it reminds us that not everything inside us is meant to last forever in the same way. Some things are meant to change, slowly, as the years pass. The amount of saliva your mouth produces decreases as you grow older, and with it, certain small but important functions begin to shift. Saliva is not just water. It is a complex fluid that helps with digestion, that protects the teeth, that keeps the mouth moist and comfortable, and that even plays a role in taste. As the salivary glands age, they produce a little less of it. The mouth may feel drier, swallowing may become slightly less effortless. The teeth may become a little more vulnerable to decay. It is a change so small and so quiet that most people barely register it. But it is one of the many tiny adjustments the body makes as it ages. Each one a small shift in the way things work. Each one asking for just a little more awareness than before. staying hydrated, eating foods that stimulate saliva production, and paying attention to oral health become a little more important as the years pass. The mouth is not asking for much. It is simply asking to be noticed. The skin, which we spoke of earlier as the body's largest organ, also becomes thinner as a person grows older. The outer layer, called the epidermis, loses some of its thickness. The layer beneath it, the dermis, where collagen and elastin live, becomes less dense and less resilient. The result is skin that feels softer, more delicate, more translucent than it once was. It bruises more easily. It heals a little more slowly. It becomes more sensitive to touch, to sun, to the elements. But thinner skin is not weaker skin, not entirely. It is simply skin that has been doing its job for a very long time. It has been a barrier, a shield, a surface upon which life has been lived. And like any surface that has been well used, it shows the marks of its service. There is something honest about that, something quiet and true. The speed at which you react to things, the time it takes for your brain to register a stimulus and send a signal to your body to respond, slows just slightly as you age. This is called reaction time, and it is one of the most studied aspects of cognitive aging. In youth, the signal travels quickly, almost instantly. The hand catches the glass before it falls. The foot finds the brake before the light turns red. But over time, that signal takes just a fraction of a second longer to arrive. The difference is often imperceptible in daily life, but it is there, measured in milliseconds, quietly present in every interaction between the brain and the body. Reaction time slowing is not the same as becoming slow. It is one small change among many, and it does not define the way a person thinks or moves or lives. It is simply one of the many fine adjustments the body makes as it ages, so subtle that most people never notice it unless someone is measuring. And even then, the difference is often so small as to be almost meaningless in the context of a full and active life. The voice changes as a person grows older in ways that are quiet and gradual, and often go unnoticed until someone points them out. The vocal cords, which vibrate to produce sound, become thicker and less elastic with age. The muscles that control them lose some of their strength. The result is a voice that may become slightly lower in pitch, or slightly rougher in tone, or slightly less able to sustain long sentences without a breath. Some people notice their voice becoming quieter. Others find it takes more effort to project. These changes are not signs of illness or decline. They are signs of a body that has been speaking, singing, laughing, and calling out for decades. The voice, like everything else, carries the marks of its use. And for many people, the voice of an older person carries a warmth and a depth that a younger voice simply has not yet earned. It is one of the quiet gifts that time brings, wrapped in a change that might otherwise go unnoticed. The cartilage in your joints, unlike bone, does not have a good blood supply. And because of that, it does not heal well once it is damaged. Cartilage is the smooth, cushioning tissue that covers the ends of bones where they meet. It allows joints to move smoothly, absorbing shocks and distributing pressure. But it is not well fed by blood vessels. It receives its nutrients through a slow process of diffusion, which means that when it is worn or torn, the body struggles to repair it. Over time, the normal wear of daily movement can gradually thin the cartilage, and once it is gone, it does not grow back easily. This is one of the reasons why joint pain and stiffness become more common as people age. It is not inevitable, and it is not universal, but it is a quiet vulnerability built into the design of the body, one that becomes more relevant as the years of use accumulate. Keeping the joints moving, keeping the muscles around them strong, and being gentle with the body are all ways of caring for cartilage that science supports. The tissue is fragile, but it is not beyond help. As a person grows older, the brain often becomes better at managing emotions, not worse. This is one of the more surprising and encouraging facts about aging, and it goes against many of the assumptions people carry. Research has shown that older adults tend to experience fewer negative emotions and to recover from emotional setbacks more quickly than younger people do. They are less likely to dwell on negative experiences. They are better at letting go of things that have upset them. They tend to focus more on what is meaningful to them and less on what is not. Scientists call this phenomenon socio-emotional selectivity. It appears to be a natural shift in how the brain prioritizes and processes emotional information. As a person becomes aware, on some level, that the time ahead of them is finite, the brain begins to focus on what matters most. It becomes, in a quiet way, wiser. Not because it has learned something new, but because it has learned what to let go of. It is one of the gentlest and most hopeful aspects of the story of aging. The walls of your blood vessels, the arteries and veins that carry blood throughout the body, gradually become stiffer as you grow older. This process is called arterial stiffening, and it is one of the central changes that shape the cardiovascular system over a lifetime. When arteries are young, they are flexible. They stretch and contract with each heartbeat, helping to smooth the flow of blood and reduce the strain on the heart. But as collagen and elastin in their walls break down and are replaced with stiffer tissue, that flexibility fades. The heart then has to work a little harder to push blood through vessels that no longer give as easily. Blood pressure rises. The risk of certain cardiovascular conditions increases gradually over years. But arterial stiffening is not a sudden event. It is a slow drift, and it is influenced by lifestyle. Exercise, in particular, has been shown to help keep arteries more flexible for longer. The vessels are not beyond the reach of care. They simply ask for it, quietly, over time. The way a person walks and balances can shift as they grow older, in ways that are often so gradual, they go unnoticed for years. The systems that govern balance involve the inner ear, the brain, the muscles, and the nerves that connect them all. Each of these systems changes a little with age. The inner ear becomes slightly less sensitive. The brain processes balance, signals, a touch more slowly. The muscles that stabilize the body become a little less strong. The result is a subtle shift in the way a person moves through space, perhaps a little more carefully, a little more deliberately than before. This is not a loss of grace. It is an adjustment. The body is simply recalibrating, finding new ways to stay steady in a world that has not changed, but that it now navigates with slightly different tools. And for many people, paying attention to this shift and supporting the body with exercise and awareness can help maintain balance and confidence well into later life. The nose and the ears, unlike most other parts of the body, never truly stop growing. This is one of those facts that surprises people, and it is worth understanding why. Cartilage, the tissue that gives the nose and ears their shape, does not stop producing new cells the way bone or muscle eventually does. It continues to lay down new layers, very slowly, over an entire lifetime. The effect is subtle. Over decades, the nose may become just a little longer, just a little wider. The ears may grow just slightly larger. The change is so slow that most people never notice it in themselves. But it is there, quietly happening, year after year. It is a reminder that the body is never entirely finished with itself. Even in the deepest parts of later life, there are processes still running, still adding, still gently reshaping the landscape of a face that has already been lived in for so very long. The wisdom teeth, those last molars to arrive, typically do not appear until a person is in their late teens or early 20s. They are called wisdom teeth, not because they bring wisdom, but simply because they arrive late, when the person is assumed to be a little wiser than they were as a child. They are the final set of teeth the body produces, and they do not always arrive smoothly. Sometimes they come in crooked. Sometimes they press against other teeth. Sometimes they never emerge at all, staying buried beneath the gums. Wisdom teeth are thought to be a relic of an earlier time in human evolution, when our ancestors ate tougher foods and needed more grinding power. Today, many jaws are too small to comfortably accommodate them, but their late arrival is itself a small marker in the story of aging, a final act of dental development that closes one chapter of the body's long, slow construction. People who live to be 100 years old or more, the centenarians, tend to share certain genetic markers that set them apart from the general population. These are not single genes that guarantee a long life. They are patterns, clusters of genetic variations that, taken together, seem to tip the balance toward longevity. Some of these markers are connected to inflammation, others to the way the body handles stress, others still to the health of the cardiovascular system or the efficiency of cellular repair. What is striking is how consistent these patterns are across different populations and different parts of the world. Centenarians in Japan share some of the same genetic tendencies as centenarians in Italy or the United States. This suggests that there are common biological pathways shared across humanity that support an exceptionally long life. But genetics, as always, is only part of the story. Diet, environment, social connection, and a degree of luck all play their roles as well. The genes set the stage. Life fills it in. Inside your cells, there is a biological clock that scientists can read, and it does not always match the age on your passport. This clock is called the epigenetic clock, and it works by measuring the patterns of chemical tags called methyl groups that attach themselves to DNA over a lifetime. These tags accumulate and change in predictable ways as a person ages, and by reading their pattern, scientists can estimate how old a person's cells truly are, biologically speaking. And here is what makes it fascinating. The biological age shown by the epigenetic clock does not always match chronological age. Someone who is 50 years old on the calendar may have cells that read as 45 or as 55, depending on the life they have lived. Chronic stress, poor sleep, and inactivity tend to accelerate the biological clock. Exercise, good nutrition, and social connection tend to slow it. The clock is not destiny. It is a mirror, reflecting back the choices and the circumstances of a life. And for the first time, science has given us a way to look into that mirror and see what it shows. Men and women experience certain aspects of aging differently, though the process itself is universal. Hormonal changes play a significant role in this. As estrogen levels decline in women, typically beginning in the late 40 or early 50, changes to bone density, skin elasticity, cardiovascular health, and mood can accelerate. Men experience a more gradual decline in testosterone, which affects muscle mass, energy, and certain aspects of metabolic health. The timelines are different, the specific changes are different, but the underlying biology, the slow wearing of cells and tissues over time, is shared. Understanding these differences has become increasingly important in medicine and in 12. For decades, many studies focused primarily on male subjects, and the ways in which women age were underrepresented in the scientific literature. That is beginning to change. As more research includes diverse populations, a fuller and more nuanced picture of how aging works across all bodies is slowly emerging. The placebo effect, the phenomenon in which a person improves simply because they believe they are receiving treatment, appears to become stronger as a person grows older. This is one of the quieter and more intriguing findings in modern medicine. Older adults seem to be more responsive to the suggestion of healing, more influenced by the belief that they are being cared for, more likely to experience genuine physiological improvement when they feel supported and hopeful. The reasons are not entirely understood, but some scientists suggest it may be connected to the way the brain changes with age, becoming more attuned to emotional and social cues, more open to the influence of expectation and context. It is a reminder that the mind and the body are not separate systems. They are deeply, quietly intertwined. And as we age, that intertwining may become, in some ways, even closer. The belief that you are getting better may, in a very real sense, help make it true. Loneliness, The feeling of being disconnected from others appears to accelerate certain biological markers of aging. This is not simply an emotional observation. It is a finding backed by a growing body of research. People who report feeling lonely tend to show higher levels of inflammation in their blood. Their telomeres tend to be shorter. Their immune systems tend to function less effectively. Their cardiovascular health tends to decline more quickly. Loneliness, it appears, is not just painful to the heart, it is costly to the body. The mechanism is not entirely clear, but scientists believe that chronic loneliness puts the body into a state of low-grade stress, the kind that does not announce itself, but that quietly wears on the systems that keep us healthy. The inverse is also true. Social connection, the feeling of being seen and known and accompanied through life, seems to protect against many of the biological changes associated with aging. It is one of the most powerful findings in the science of growing old. The body does not age in isolation, it ages in relationship. And the quality of those relationships matters deeply and measurably. Of all the things a person can do to slow the biological signs of aging, regular physical exercise appears to be the single most effective. This is not a small claim, and it is backed by decades of research across hundreds of studies. Exercise supports the heart. It strengthens bones. It maintains muscle mass. It helps regulate blood pressure. It supports the immune system. It improves sleep. It reduces inflammation. It keeps telomeres from shortening as quickly. It supports the health of the brain. The list goes on. And it is remarkably consistent. This does not mean that exercise is a cure for everything, or that it can halt aging entirely. Nothing can. But it is, by a significant margin, the most powerful tool available to support the body as it ages. And it does not need to be extreme or punishing. Walking, swimming, gentle strength training, dancing, gardening, anything that gets the body moving with regularity appears to have meaningful benefits. The body was built to move. And when it does, it ages more slowly, more gracefully, and with far less difficulty. The quality of sleep tends to decline as a person grows older, even though the need for sleep remains much the same. We touched on this earlier, but it is worth returning to, because sleep is so central to the story of aging. The deep, slow-wave sleep that does the most important repair work in the body becomes shorter and lighter. The transitions between sleep stages become less smooth. Waking in the night becomes more common. And yet, the body still needs 7 to 9 hours of rest to function well. The need has not changed. Only the ease with which it is achieved has shifted. This creates a quiet tension. The body needs rest, deeply and consistently, but the mechanisms that deliver that rest have become a little less reliable. Paying attention to sleep hygiene, keeping a consistent schedule, creating a calm and dark environment, and being gentle with the body in the hours before bed all become a little more important as the years pass. Sleep is not a luxury. It is one of the body's most essential acts of maintenance. And protecting it, nurturing it, becomes one of the quiet priorities of a life well lived. The connection between the gut and the brain, sometimes called the gut-brain axis, changes as a person grows older, and scientists are only beginning to understand what that means. The gut is not just a place where food is digested. It is a place where neurotransmitters are produced, where immune signals are generated, where a vast community of microorganisms communicates with the brain through chemical and electrical pathways. And as both the gut microbiome and the brain change with age, the signals passing between them may shift as well. Certain researchers suggest that alterations in the gut-brain connection might influence mood, cognitive abilities, and even specific neurodegenerative disorders that tend to increase in prevalence as one ages. The study is just beginning, and there is still a lot that we don't know. Yet, it stands as one of the most thrilling frontiers in the science of aging, a realm where the body's most subtle and intricate systems are gradually being revealed. Some diseases and conditions are closely associated with age, becoming more prevalent or noticeable after certain decades of life. Heart disease, for instance, tends to increase, notably after the age of 45 inches men and 55 inches women. Some cancers exhibit patterns that are linked to age. Osteoporosis often speeds up following menopause. The likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease increases significantly after reaching the age of 65. These have purpose. These factors are linked to the gradual shifts in the body's systems, the gradual deterioration of DNA repair mechanisms, the weakening of the immune system, and the alterations in cell turnover and inflammation. Grasping these age gates, as referred to by some scientists, stands as a key objective in contemporary aging research. By grasping the reasons behind the emergence of specific diseases at various life stages, we could potentially take action sooner, bolster the body before risks escalate, and possibly alter the timeline to positively impact countless individuals. The work demands a quiet and meticulous approach. However, this is a task that has the potential to transform the way we experience aging over time. Progeria is an uncommon genetic disorder where the body experiences aging at an astonishingly fast pace, and research on it has provided scientists with significant insights into the process of normal aging. Kids with progeria usually exhibit characteristics of aging early on, often within their first few years. Their skin takes on a delicate, creased appearance. Their hair is shedding. Their hearts and blood vessels deteriorate quickly. The majority do not survive beyond their teenage years. This condition is truly heartbreaking. For scientists, it serves as a portal, an opportunity to explore the mechanisms of aging in a clear and tangible manner. Investigations into progeria have unveiled insights regarding the function of specific proteins in preserving cell structure, the significance of nuclear envelope integrity, and possible therapeutic strategies that could eventually be relevant to typical aging processes. The children living with progeria are more than just patients. In a subtle, yet significant way, they serve as educators. Their bodies reveal, in a heightened manner, the fundamental processes that influence every human existence. Within the depths of your brain lies a small group of cells in the hypothalamus, serving as the central clock that regulates your body's functions. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is responsible for coordinating the rhythms of nearly all bodily functions. Upon waking, during sleep, as hormones are released, and with fluctuations in body temperature, this internal clock aligns with the external environment, mainly through the light that enters the eyes. As one grows older, this clock starts to shift. It might lose some accuracy. Their sensitivity to light might diminish. The messages it transmits to the rest of the body might grow less pronounced. This explains why sleep and wake cycles change as we age, why some hormones act differently, and why the body's internal rhythms may seem less dependable than they used to be. The suprachiasmatic nucleus remains intact. Aging occurs subtly, affecting the entire body, especially within the depths of the brain, where it remains unseen by all. However, its transformations extend outward, influencing almost every facet of how the body experiences and operates over time. The body's healing power is strongest in youth, gradually diminishing as one ages. A child with a scraped knee will see new skin developing over the wound in just a few days. A young adult who fractures a bone typically recovers in just a few weeks. However, as the body grows older, each of these processes requires a bit more time. The number of cells that hurry to a wound site is reduced. The factors that promote repair are not as plentiful. The tissues that rejoin themselves do so at a slower pace, with greater care, as if the body is taking its time to be more intentional in its efforts. This deceleration in recovery is not a setback. This mirrors the wider transformations occurring within the entire body. The systems that used to operate with such speed and efficiency have now adopted a more deliberate rhythm. They continue to be engaged in their tasks. They continue to make an effort. However, they approach this with the calmness of a body that has undergone significant healing, understanding, in a subtle cellular manner, that the journey ahead might require more time than it did before. As individuals age, a persistent, low-level inflammation, often referred to as inflammaging, becomes increasingly prevalent. This condition seems to contribute to various age-related diseases and transformations. Inflammation can sometimes be beneficial. In the immediate sense, it serves as a crucial line of defense for the body. When you injure yourself, when you fall ill, when there is tissue damage, inflammation quickly arrives to safeguard and mend. However, when inflammation turns chronic, persisting at a low level for months or even years without an obvious reason, it can subtly undermine the very tissues it was intended to safeguard. Inflammaging is believed to play a role in cardiovascular disease, various cancers, cognitive decline, and numerous other conditions that tend to increase in prevalence as we age. It is influenced by alterations in the immune system, the buildup of senescent cells, changes in the gut microbiome, and various other elements that researchers are still striving to decipher. However, managing chronic inflammation by means of exercise, diet, stress management, and adequate sleep seems to be among the most crucial actions one can take to promote healthy aging. It is a subtle task, yet it could be one of the most impactful. The quantity and caliber of social connections a person nurtures over their lifetime seem to significantly influence their longevity and the quality of their aging experience. This is not a figure of speech. This conclusion is backed by extensive research carried out over many years. Individuals who nurture deep, significant connections often experience reduced occurrences of heart disease. Their immune systems often operate more effectively. Their cognitive decline often progresses at a more gradual pace. On average, they tend to have a longer lifespan compared to those who experience isolation. The factors involved are intricate and continue to be explored. It seems that social connections can help lower stress hormones. It promotes better habits. It offers a profound sense of meaning and purpose that the body instinctively reacts to on a biological level. A person who experiences a sense of connection with others, who feels acknowledged, appreciated, and supported, is not merely happier. They are, in a tangible and significant way, more robust. This discovery stands out as one of the most significant, yet understated revelations in the field of aging research. The body flourishes in connection with others. It flourishes in the presence of others. Engaging with music, whether it's listening, playing, or singing, seems to offer a subtle safeguard for the brain as it grows older. Studies indicate that individuals who frequently interact with music often experience a more gradual cognitive decline as they age. Their recall often stays more acute. Their processing speed often remains elevated. Their emotional health often shows improvement. Music captivates the brain like few other activities, stimulating various regions at once, engaging both recollection and feeling, as well as communication and action. Some scientists suggest that this rich, multi-layered engagement aids in preserving the brain's connections over time, ensuring that pathways remain active and adaptable even as other parts of the body start to slow down. Music can be simple, modern, or anything you want it to be. It just requires being experienced and embraced, letting it perform its natural role of flowing through the body and mind in ways that science is only starting to grasp completely. The bone marrow within your bones, the soft tissue responsible for the production of blood cells, undergoes changes in both its composition and activity as one ages. In youth, bone marrow is vibrant and active, generating millions of new blood cells daily. Oxygen-carrying red blood cells, cells in the body that combat infections. Platelets assist in the clotting process when a wound occurs. As one grows older, the marrow slowly transforms. It turns richer in texture. It becomes more passive. The creation of specific kinds of blood cells decreases. This alteration is subtle and unnoticed. It's an experience that goes unnoticed. However, it plays a role in the changes within the immune system and blood that become increasingly apparent as one ages. The marrow remains incomplete. It continues to function. However, it operates at a more relaxed rhythm than before, akin to a factory that has reduced its hours, yet remains open for business. The pupils of your eyes, those dark circles that expand and contract to allow light in, tend to shrink as you age. This process is known as meiosis. The muscles that manage the iris, the eye's colorful section, gradually lose some flexibility and responsiveness as time goes on. When the pupils shrink, there's a reduction in the amount of light that reaches the eye. One reason older adults frequently require increased lighting for comfortable vision is that dimly lit spaces become more challenging to navigate, and reading in low light turns into a greater struggle than it used to be. The transformation occurs so subtly that many individuals fail to recognize it within themselves. It represents a subtle change in how the eye perceives the environment, a minor tweak in the body's interaction with illumination. As with many changes that accompany aging, it calls for a straightforward reaction, a touch more brightness, a dash more patience, and a heightened awareness of the needs of eyes that have been observing the world for an extended period. The sense of smell, one of the most ancient and fundamental human senses, often diminishes in acuity as a person ages. The olfactory receptors in the nose, responsible for detecting scents, slowly diminish in both quantity and sensitivity as the years go by. The capacity to differentiate between various scents might become less accurate. Some fragrances that used to be strikingly present may now seem subtle or diminished. The scent of rain on parched soil, the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread, the unique fragrance of a flower that once captivated you completely. This decline often occurs at such a gradual pace that individuals adjust without even noticing any differences. They start to overlook more, to take in fewer of the subtle, gentle cues that the world communicates through the atmosphere. However, scent transcends mere indulgence. It influences hunger, security, recollection, and emotional health. As it starts to diminish, it becomes significant to observe, not only for the insights it provides regarding brain health, but also for its implications on our perception of the world. The myelin sheaths encasing the nerve fibers in your brain and body, which insulate them and facilitate the rapid travel of electrical signals, gradually thin and lose their effectiveness as one ages. Myelin is a fatty layer created by unique cells known as oligodendrocytes. It functions similarly to the protective layer encasing a wire. In its absence, or with a reduction, signals move at a slower pace and with diminished reliability. As time passes, the myelin that envelops specific nerve pathways slowly diminishes, leading to a decrease in the speed and accuracy of neural communication. This reduction is believed to play a role in some of the subtle cognitive shifts that occur as we age. The gradual decrease in reaction speed, the sporadic struggle to pinpoint the correct word, the feeling that the mind is operating at a slightly slower pace than before. These do not indicate any harm. These are indications of a system that has been operating for years, subtly and gradually changing its rhythm. The tension remains palpable. The signals continue to shift. They are just taking a bit more time to get here. The human body is in a constant state of transformation, at no age whatsoever, never at any stage of life. From the moment of conception to the final breath, the body undergoes a constant, subtle evolution. Cells are splitting and perishing. Tissues are mending and deteriorating. Hormones are fluctuating dramatically. The microbiome is evolving. The brain is undergoing a transformation. The bones are regenerating. The skin is in a process of renewal, shedding, and regrowing. This never ends. It effortlessly shifts in its rhythm, in its pace, in the equilibrium between creation and decay. This may be the most profound and calming insight regarding the process of aging. It is not an end point. This is just the beginning. It is just the natural outcome. When a living system continues to thrive, the body remains active and alert. It goes on. It continues its timeless journey, evolving and adjusting, moving forward with a steady and deliberate pace. The telomeres in your cells can be affected by the stress you hold, and researchers have discovered a remarkable link between mental strain and biological age. A landmark study revealed that women caring for chronically ill children had telomeres that were significantly shorter compared to those of women who did not bear that responsibility. The disparity equated to about a decade of biological aging, a decade etched into the very tips of their chromosomes by the burden of anxiety and concern. This discovery, released in the early 2000s, was among the first to establish a distinct connection between an individual's lifestyle and the age of their cells. Caring for others is not harmful at all. Chronic, unrelieved stress impacts us in ways that extend beyond mere fatigue or feelings of sadness. It penetrates the cells directly. This has revealed a pathway to grasping how our emotional existence and biological existence are, in reality, one and the same life, observed from two distinct perspectives. As individuals grow older, their body's ability to react to temperature fluctuations, whether hot or cold, diminishes in efficiency. The skin loses its ability to detect subtle changes in the environment. The blood vessels that expand and shrink to control body temperature become more rigid and less reactive. The sweat glands, responsible for cooling the body in warm conditions, become less active. As a result, older adults might find themselves increasingly susceptible to temperature extremes, feeling more discomfort in both heat and cold, and requiring additional layers, shade, and warmth. This is a subtle vulnerability that accompanies aging, and it is frequently ignored. As time goes on, it becomes increasingly crucial to focus on the environment, wear layers, maintain hydration, and stay attuned to how the body responds to the surrounding weather. The body remains intact despite these changes. It is increasingly becoming more aware, more in tune with its surroundings, in a manner that requires a bit more attention. As a person ages, the body's water retention diminishes. In youth, water constitutes about 60% of your body weight, but as the years go by, that percentage starts to decrease. The tissues dry out. The skin begins to lose its youthful fullness. The mucous membranes lose some of their moisture. It's increasingly simple to slip into dehydration, yet regaining balance can be quite challenging. The body naturally retains less water than before, making it increasingly vital to replenish it consistently. This is why staying hydrated becomes a crucial and often overlooked priority as we age. The body isn't seeking anything overly dramatic. It is just a gentle and consistent request for water throughout the day. A glass in hand, a sip taken here and there. Maintaining hydration is a straightforward yet powerful method to nurture the body as it grows older. The levels of specific hormones, such as growth hormone and those that influence sleep and mood, gradually decrease as one ages. The production of growth hormone, essential for tissue repair and muscle maintenance, peaks during childhood and young adulthood, then starts to decline in the 30 seconds and 40 seconds. As we age, melatonin, the hormone responsible for regulating sleep, diminishes, contributing to the increasing difficulty in falling asleep. Serotonin, a key player in mood and well-being, can vary in its production as time goes on. The hormonal changes are subtle, they are nuanced, revealing themselves gradually over years and decades, impacting the body in ways that are often sensed rather than quantified. Let's tone it down a bit. There seems to be a bit more trouble with sleep lately. A subtle change in atmosphere or strength. The hormones are still present. They possess a certain calmness, allowing the body to gradually acclimate to their softer aura. As a person ages, the cushioning discs between the vertebrae in the spine tend to lose some of their water content and thickness. This explains why certain individuals may notice a slight decrease in height as they age compared to their younger days. The discs gradually diminish, just a bit, over the years, as they support the body's weight. The alteration is minimal, typically under an inch overall, and the majority of individuals remain unaware of it. Yet, it serves as a subtle reminder that the body is not a static entity. It is a dynamic entity, reacting to the influences exerted on it year after year, in ways that are both apparent and subtle. The spinal discs are not completely irreparable. Drinking enough water, having proper posture, and strengthening the back and core muscles can all contribute to supporting the spine as it gets older. The discs are working hard to provide cushioning and protection. They just require the support of the rest of the body to assist them. As individuals age, the brain's method of processing and storing new information undergoes subtle transformations. However, the wealth of knowledge and insight that has been amassed tends to stay impressively consistent. This difference matters. The mind doesn't just erase all the knowledge it has acquired. The speed and ease of absorbing and integrating new information is what changes. Mastering fresh abilities, embracing innovative technologies, and taking in new information. These tasks might require a bit more effort, a bit more repetition, and a bit more patience than they used to. Yet, the extensive repository of experience, the years of gathered wisdom, the profound insight into human behavior and trends, along with the mechanics of the world, all persist. In numerous aspects, it intensifies. The mature mind is not a lesser mind. This one is distinct. A choice that prioritizes depth over speed, wisdom over novelty, and the fleeting excitement of the new for the enduring warmth of the familiar. The immune system doesn't just decline as we get older. It tends to lose its accuracy. Alongside the overall decrease in its responsiveness that we discussed previously, the immune system in older adults can occasionally exhibit heightened activity in specific aspects. It might start to target the body's own tissues more easily, leading to autoimmune conditions. It might trigger excessive inflammation in reaction to non-existent threats. This dual shift, which is less effective at combating genuine threats and more susceptible to unnecessary activities, represents one of the more intricate facets of the aging immune system. Researchers continue to explore the reasons behind this phenomenon and potential solutions, highlighting that the immune system is more complex than just a protective barrier that diminishes with age. This is an advanced system that adapts its behavior, shifts its focus, and alters its relationship with the body it is designed to safeguard. As individuals age, their ability to metabolize caffeine decreases. This is why an afternoon cup of coffee, which might have been overlooked by evening, can now ensure someone stays alert well into the night. As time goes by, the liver's ability to break down caffeine gradually diminishes. The caffeine remains in the system for an extended period, and its effects persist. This serves as a subtle yet impactful illustration of how the body's connection with the substances it consumes evolves throughout a lifetime. What used to be simple now presents a bit more of a challenge. What was previously excused is now recalled. The body is not inflicting any punishment on anyone. It is increasingly intentional about what it permits and the duration it remains present. The area surrounding the eyes is often one of the earliest to show signs of aging, as it features some of the thinnest skin on the body. The skin on the eyelids measures about 1/3 of a millimeter in thickness, making it significantly thinner than the skin found on the cheeks or forehead. Due to its delicate nature, the signs of aging tend to appear there before anywhere else. The decline in collagen, the reduction of tissue thickness, the subtle sagging of the skin from the underlying structures, fine lines accumulate at the edges. The eyelids might start to lose their firmness and sag a bit. However, the area surrounding the eyes is among the most expressive features of the face. It dances with each smile, each squint, each laugh. The lines that appear there are not imperfections. They capture the essence of a face that has experienced life, embracing joy, surprise, and warmth over the years. In their subtle manner, they represent some of the most exquisite aspects of an aging visage. After the age of 20, the body's production of collagen, that essential structural protein we've discussed, starts to decrease at an approximate rate of 1 to 2% each year. As individuals enter their 72nd, it's common for them to have lost a significant portion, often 1/3 or more, of the collagen they previously possessed. This impacts not only the skin, but also the tendons, ligaments, blood vessel walls, and the connective tissue across the entire body. Collagen is ubiquitous, and its gradual decrease is one of the most subtle yet significant transformations in the narrative of our aging process. However, collagen is not completely immune to external factors. Vitamin C, prevalent in citrus fruits and various other foods, is crucial for the body's production capabilities. Sufficient protein consumption aids in its production. Additionally, specific lifestyle choices, especially protecting your skin from the sun and avoiding smoking, can help to slow down its deterioration. The body continues to produce collagen throughout its entire lifespan. With each year that goes by, it gradually diminishes. And this change, over time, weaves itself into the narrative that the body shares about its journey. As individuals grow older, the interplay between their balance and vision evolves, leading to a heightened risk of falls. In youth, the brain swiftly and accurately combines information from the eyes, inner ear, and muscles and joints. When one system transmits a slightly inaccurate signal, the others adjust accordingly. However, as each of these systems matures, the room for mistakes diminishes slightly. The mind requires a bit more time to process and align contradictory information. The outcome is a nuanced change in assurance and steadiness, especially in situations that are unfamiliar or uncertain. This does not indicate any lack of strength. It indicates a system that is putting in extra effort to achieve what it previously accomplished with ease. By focusing on attention, engaging in exercises that test balance, and being mindful of more challenging environments, one can effectively nurture this system throughout later life. The body remains strong and able. It just requires a bit more teamwork from the intellect. As individuals age, the duration required for their eyes to adapt to dim lighting tends to lengthen. During youth, the pupils expand swiftly in low light, and the retina, which is the light-sensitive layer at the back of the eye, adapts quickly, enabling a person to see fairly well in just a few minutes. As the eye matures, the pupil tends to shrink and respond less, while the retina's sensitivity diminishes slightly. The process of dark adaptation requires more time. Nighttime driving presents a few more difficulties. Stepping into a dimly lit space from a well-lit area demands a touch more patience. It's a subtle shift within the body, one that many individuals adapt to without ever really identifying it. They start to exercise greater caution in the darkness, becoming more attuned to the presence of light and its absence. The eyes are adapting to a reality that seems slightly less bright than before, not due to any alteration in the world itself, but rather because of a shift in their perception of it. As we age, the adaptability of the brain's blood vessels, similar to those found throughout the body, diminishes, which can affect both mental and physical well-being. The blood vessels in the brain, responsible for delivering oxygen and nutrients, gradually lose their flexibility and responsiveness as time goes on. There may be a reduction in blood flow to specific areas of the brain. The brain's capacity to manage its blood flow becomes less accurate, and over time, these alterations can lead to slight changes in cognitive abilities, memory, and the general well-being of brain tissue. One of the reasons cardiovascular health is intricately connected to brain health. As individuals grow older, the heart and blood vessels are intricately connected to the mind. They serve as its vital link. Maintaining their health through exercise, proper nutrition, and monitoring blood pressure is crucial for safeguarding both the brain and the body. As individuals get older, the rate of hair growth tends to decrease. The small structures in the skin, known as hair follicles, from which every hair strand grows, gradually lose their activity as time passes. The anagen phase of the hair cycle shortens, leading to slower hair growth, and the strands may become finer and more delicate. This applies not only to the hair on the head, but also to the hair on the body. The eyebrows might become sparser, and the eyelashes could lose some of their fullness. The overall impression evokes a sense of serene withdrawal, a slow receding of the hair from the body it once embraced so completely. However, hair growth, much like various aspects of life, reacts positively to attention and care. Proper nutrition, especially sufficient protein and iron, promotes the well-being of the follicles. Careful handling, steering clear of harsh methods, and showing kindness to the scalp can all contribute to slowing down the thinning process. The follicles are not inactive, they are merely subdued, and they thrive when given the care and focus they deserve. As a person ages, the body's efficiency in managing sugar diminishes, affecting its capability to extract glucose from the blood for energy, or to store it for future use. This relates to alterations in how cells react to a hormone known as insulin. As insulin signaling loses its effectiveness, the body finds it increasingly difficult to clear sugar from the bloodstream as efficiently as before. Blood sugar levels might remain high for an extended period following a meal. The likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes rises, especially after reaching the age of 45. This change isn't guaranteed for all, and it is heavily shaped by one's way of living. Consistent physical activity, a fiber-filled diet with minimal processed sugars, and keeping a healthy weight can all enhance the body's capacity to manage sugar effectively as one ages. The system is functioning as intended. It is increasingly less forgiving, and it thrives on the consistent, gentle focus that positive habits offer. As individuals age, their sensitivity to light pressure and fine textures often diminishes. The nerve endings in the skin responsible for detecting these sensations, known as mechanoreceptors, diminish in number and sensitivity as time goes on. A feather gliding over the back of the hand might seem less pronounced than it used to be. The feel of the fabric on the skin might lose its intensity. The world remains rich in detail. It just feels a bit softer to the touch. This shift occurs so subtly that many individuals remain unaware of it on a conscious level, yet it exists, a gradual fading of one of the body's most ancient and personal methods of perceiving the world. This serves as a gentle reminder that every sense we possess, every method our body uses to absorb information from the world around us, contributes to the same gradual narrative of transformation that unfolds throughout our lives. As we age, our bodies become increasingly vulnerable to the impacts of specific medications, as the mechanisms responsible for processing and clearing drugs become less effective. The liver, responsible for breaking down numerous medications, operates at a slightly slower pace. The kidneys, responsible for filtering waste and excess substances from the blood, might not eliminate drugs as swiftly. The outcome is that medications may remain in the system for an extended period, leading to more noticeable effects, whether they are intended or not. This highlights the significance of medication management in healthcare during later life, emphasizing why doctors meticulously monitor dosage and interactions as individuals age. The body is accepting its medications well. It involves a unique approach, characterized by the careful and patient handling of a system that has been operating for an extended period. As a person ages, the capacity of the lungs to intake and supply oxygen to the bloodstream gradually diminishes. The walls of the small air sacs in the lungs, known as alveoli, grow thicker and lose their flexibility. The muscles that facilitate the expansion and contraction of the chest with every breath gradually lose some of their strength. The outcome is a lung capacity that, over the years, has diminished slightly from what it used to be. One might observe this while exercising or during a time of effort, when breathing becomes slightly more labored than before. However, the lungs show an impressive ability to adjust. Cardiovascular fitness enhances the efficiency of the respiratory system, contributing to the maintenance of lung function as one ages. For many individuals, the decline is gradual enough that it doesn't greatly disrupt their everyday routines. The lungs continue to inhale and exhale. They continue to put in the effort. They do so at a pace that has slightly decelerated over time. As individuals age, the process by which the brain solidifies memories during sleep evolves, potentially linking to the nuanced changes in memory that accompany the aging process. While in deep sleep, The brain is believed to revisit and reinforce the neural connections that capture new experiences, transferring information from short-term to long-term memory. As we age, our sleep tends to become lighter and less profound, which can lead to a less effective consolidation process. Memories might not hold the same clarity they used to. This doesn't imply that the brain has ceased its learning or memory processes. The subtle, nighttime process of reinforcing memories has become somewhat less effective, highlighting once more the crucial role of sleep in maintaining mental health, especially as we age. Caring for sleep, fostering it, and allowing it the time and environment it requires benefits not only the body, but also the mind. As skin ages, it can become increasingly transparent in specific areas, revealing the underlying blood vessels more distinctly. This is especially evident on the backs of the hands and forearms, where the skin is delicate and the underlying tissue has diminished in density. The blue or purple lines of veins stand out more prominently. The skin acquires a delicate translucence, as if the body is softly revealing itself from the outside. It's not a defect. It's just the result of a covering that has been there for years, becoming slightly thinner, a bit more worn, and a touch less opaque than it used to be. Much like the pages of a cherished, time-worn book, the skin transforms into a canvas that hints at the stories hidden within, offering glimpses of the life that lies beneath. As individuals age, the body's ability to regulate temperature becomes somewhat less accurate, which is linked to alterations in the hypothalamus, the part of the brain responsible for maintaining the body's thermostat. During youth, the hypothalamus swiftly reacts to temperature fluctuations, initiating sweating, shivering, and altering blood flow to maintain the body within a narrow and comfortable range. However, as the hypothalamus matures, its reactions tend to slow down slightly and lose some of their precision. During the summer, the body can become more prone to overheating. During winter, the chill can be felt more intensely. The world hasn't necessarily become more extreme. The body's capacity to regulate its internal temperature has become somewhat less dependable, requiring a bit more assistance from clothing, shade, and warmth. The quantity of taste receptors on the tongue doesn't merely diminish. As we age, the brain's interpretation of signals from those receptors evolves. Even when the tongue retains sufficient receptors to sense a flavor, the brain might interpret that information in a slightly altered way, resulting in changes in the perception of food tastes. What once felt perfectly seasoned might now come across as dull. What was once savored effortlessly might now taste overly sweet or excessively bitter. These alterations aren't solely focused on the tongue itself. The dialogue between the tongue and the brain unfolds subtly over the years, much like any ongoing exchange does. And now, dear listener, we find ourselves at the conclusion of our extensive and soothing exploration into the subtle art of aging. We have wandered through the shrinking telomeres and the rebuilding bones. We have lingered with the waning of flavor and the growth of insight. We have listened to the body as it told us, in its own slow and patient language, the story of how it changes over a lifetime. We have visited the stem cells and the hormones, the skin and the spine, the heart and the brain. And we have found in each one, not a tale of decline, but a tale of transformation, of quiet, ongoing, remarkable change. Aging is not something that happens to us. Not really. It is something we do. It is something the body does every single day in its endless and invisible work of living. It is the slow turning of a page that has been open for a very long time. And within that turning, there is so much beauty, the deepening of emotion, the sharpening of wisdom, the way the body learns over decades to do more with less, the way experience fills in the spaces that youth left empty, the way a life fully lived becomes something rich and layered and quietly extraordinary. So as you lie here, letting your breath slow, letting the weight of your body sink into whatever is holding you, take a moment to feel grateful. Not for youth, not for the way things once were, but for this, for the quiet miracle of a body that has been working without pause, without complaint for every single year you have been alive. A body that has healed itself thousands of times, that has fought off illness after illness, that has grown and changed and adapted and kept on going through everything life has brought. Picture yourself somewhere peaceful. A garden, perhaps in the late afternoon light. The sun is warm but not too bright. The air is still. The sound of water somewhere nearby. Gentle and unhurried. Feel the ground beneath you. Solid and cool. Feel the air on your skin. Let the facts we have shared tonight settle around you, like dust motes drifting in a sunbeam. The telomeres, the neurons, the slow rebuilding of bone, the way the brain becomes wiser as it grows older, the way the body holds the marks of every year it has lived through, not as scars, but as records, as proof. Every wrinkle is a smile that stayed. Every gray hair is a season survived. Every ache in a joint is a life that kept moving. The body is not winding down, it is rounding out. It is becoming more of what it always was. Just quieter now, just softer at the edges, just a little more aware of what matters and what does not. The science of aging is still young, even though the process itself is as old as life. There is so much left to discover, so many questions still turning slowly in the minds of researchers around the world. How can we support the body as it ages? How can we keep it healthy and resilient for longer? How can we honor the changes it goes through, rather than fighting them? These are the questions that will shape the next decades of biology and medicine, and the answers, when they come, will be quiet and careful and full of wonder. But tonight, you do not need to worry about any of that. Tonight, you simply need to rest, to let the story of your own body, the one that has been unfolding inside you for as long as you have been alive, carry you gently into sleep. You are not separate from the science we have been sharing. You are it. Every fact we have spoken tonight is a fact about you, about the cells inside you, right now, dividing and repairing and changing, about the brain that is listening to these words and slowly, quietly letting them go, about the heart that is beating, right now, in the dark, doing its steady and faithful work. So close your eyes, if they are not already closed. Let your breathing deepen. Let the tension in your shoulders release. Let the weight of the day, and the weight of the years, and the weight of everything you have ever carried, set itself down, gently, beside you. You do not need to carry it tonight. Tonight, you only need to sleep. The body will keep going. It always does. It will keep changing and healing and adapting and becoming. It will keep telling its quiet story, one cell at a time, one breath at a time, one slow and patient heartbeat at a time. And you will be there, inside it, resting, dreaming, drifting into the deepest and most peaceful kind of stillness. If you are still awake, you are welcome to let the next video carry you further. But if sleep has already found you, if the words have already begun to blur and soften at the edges, then let them. Let the quiet of the night hold you. Let the story of aging, in all its gentleness, be the last thing you heard before you drifted off. It is a story worth falling asleep to, a story worth dreaming about, a story that will still be there, patient and unhurried, whenever you choose to return. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let the quiet miracle of your own body carry you gently into rest, into stillness, into sleep. No one has been confirmed to have lived for a longer duration. Her life prompts inquiries that science has been subtly contemplating for decades. Jean Calment was more than just a record of years. She was a living testament to the quiet strength of our biology. Her story reminds us that we are not simply wearing out, we are deepening, like a long-form narrative written in the language of experience. Aging, as we have explored tonight, is not a clock ticking down, but a quiet evolution. It is the story of cells that remember, skin that has witnessed the sun, and a heart that continues its faithful beat through every season. It is a slow, graceful transition into a version of yourself that holds more history, more quiet strength, and more profound wisdom. As you drift towards sleep, trust in the silent renewal of your being. You are a masterpiece in progress, unfolding exactly as you should. The night is here, and the story of today is complete. Sleep now. Good night.